Clubhouse.
He can't point to a single code or conduct violation. He talks about litigation and damages, but no litigation has been filed, so there's no damages to consider. His entire impeachment claim is conjecture.
Sometimes conjecture is all you need to get started.
Truth prevails.
It's not that kind of fight, Claire. Truth won't win this one.
Well, if truth won't win it, I don't know what will.
Menace.
I don't know how to fight with menace.
I'll teach you.
This is Stef.
This is Sheila.
And welcome back to the Pod Clubhouse coverage of Yellowstone. Today we are discussing Season 5, Episode 8, titled A Knife and No Coin. So, welcome back, Sheila.
Welcome
How are you?
back, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
It's
2023.
Which means I'll be writing the date wrong until about March.
Yeah.
In happier news, I am no longer sick, so this is my normal voice. For those of you that have been with us for a while, this is how I normally sound. For those that listened the last few weeks, I apologize. I listened back to the last episode we did, and I was like, oh my God, my voice. Ugh. It just was so raspy, but I was on lots of drugs over the Christmas break. I had steroids and antibiotics. It was a wonderful thing. Now I feel better, so it was a wonderful thing.
I'm glad you're better. It is kind of weird to listen back to yourself, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's not as terrible as it was in the beginning, because now I just pretend it's not me. I'm just listening to somebody talking about Yellowstone. Yeah. So it's not quite as bad if I don't think that it's me.
Sometimes I don't like my laugh.
I don't like most things about what I do, and I try to be conscious of it when we do this going forward. But yeah there's a little bit of a podcasting insight.
You know what's funny too is that when I listen back to our podcast, it still makes me laugh. You and I make me laugh. It's so funny.
We're hilarious. They should give us our own show.
Right?
Oh wait,
right? I'm like, we're funny.
I listen back to it. I'm just like, I just find it hilarious that you and I have only met in person once.
Yeah.
And we have this rapport. We have this easiness about our conversations that and we only met in person once.
I know. I like that.
Yeah, me too.
So your family picture is on my fridge, and my kids are asking me who that boy is. And I'm like,
and who's mom?
And I was like, well, that's my friend Sheila. And they're like, do we know him? I'm like, not technically.
Well, there's plans to go to Houston at some point this year. Yeah, because one of my friends just retired, and she's moving to Houston in March. And then I have my friend also who lives outside of Houston, who I've known since college. And this year is 25 years since that happened. So
since college?
Well, since we started, basically. So since we became friends. Not since I graduated college. No, that hasn't quite happened yet, but we're definitely approaching that. Like
we're getting there.
I have my 25th high school reunion in 2022. It was supposed to be in 2021. You can do the math there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's 2023 is a kind of a big year for our little college crowd. So
nice.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be fun. Well, good. We will welcome
come down.
you.
We'll definitely swing by.
Yes, for sure.
But back to Yellowstone.
Yeah. So, this is what they're calling the mid-season finale, which makes me sad. I don't want to take a break.
No, I don't want to take a break either. And it's very up in the air as to when it's coming back.
Yeah, that's not okay. Yeah.
Is this Summer the character? Is this Summer this? No, it's Summer this season.
It's like, when? I don't
because
like that.
Because that's a big range for me. Because, summer is June till September.
Well, for us, it's May through September.
Yeah, well, you guys get, hot really stinking early.
In May.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're doing this mid-season break. I don't know. Whoever you want to believe in the rumor mill is who you can pick to believe. I've heard that they haven't yet filmed the last half of the season, which I'm like, that's going to take longer than a couple months because...
That can't be right.
Yo, it'd be frozen in Montana right now. There's snow everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially with all these storms that have hit the Midwest up and down. I'm sure they're just buried in mountains of snow.
Yeah.
I don't know what to believe. All I know is that they gave a very undefined timeline and the rumor mill is churning it out big time.
Yes, for sure. So we don't know when we'll be back, but we will for sure be posting about it when we are. So
yes,
this is
a Yellowstone group that we have, the Yellowstone 666, 1923, all the news. So if you just like type it in all the Taylor Sheridan shows, you'll find us. And we post legit news sources when we get the news and the information.
So what did you think of this episode in terms of a finale? I mean, I know it's mid-season, but think of it as a finale. Like, did you...
I got a lot of cliffhanger moments that left me...
Which I like in finales.
Which I like, exactly, because the whole point of like a finale, a mid-season break, anything that you're going to pause and come back to is the need to want more. Like, I need more of the story. We had the wolf story break.
I know. I was before. Like, oh my gosh.
Like, and on top of everything else, I didn't want to lose that because that's huge. Because we got a lot of bombs that went off.
It was like one sentence in this whole episode that they talked about the wolves, and I was like, oh my gosh.
That's why I was like, I can't forget to mention the wolves.
I know.
You know, with Beth finding out about the train station and confronting Jamie about it, the impeachment, and Rainwater's.
So many things.
There were so many things that were going on, but I was like, oh, I can't forget the wolves, because like you said, it was one sentence. It was a blurb in the news and just in the background, and there was
they specifically say on Governor Dutton's ranch, so like they call him out, and this is just, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but I mean, so as far as a
cover up.
Yes, as a finale, I really like where they left us because they left us hanging on a lot of things. And I like that in finales.
Same.
I think that's what kept me watching Grey's Anatomy for freaking 17 years or whatever. I've dropped off that train now, but
to season 6.
Girl, oh gosh. But don't they, at the end of every season, they leave it at a crazy cliffhanger.
Yes. And
that's what I liked about that show.
Yes. So I like the fact that they did this. I feel like we're going to get 2 this season because we have the mid-season finale now, which they haven't done before. If they have, it's only been like a week break for Christmas and they come right back.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought would be the case.
Same. Because like I said, the rumor mill, it was hard to know what to believe because there was nothing official until today or yesterday. One of the days that it came out that, it's going to be the summer, which is still not helpful because, like we said, there's a big range in there.
Yeah, that's not.
And then that always now just, that's the way my mind works because then it just begs the question that, well, when do we get a season 6? If this starts in the summertime, you're going to go into the autumn with this. You're not starting this up in November.
Yeah.
Which is what they've been premiering the seasons, the last 2 seasons, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, that just leaves me now a cliffhanger for when do we get season 6? Just to keep that cliffhanger metaphor going a little further.
Right.
I like this episode, Steph, for a lot of reasons. Not just the whole cliffhangers, I really have to say cliffhangers because we got many of them aspects, but also because we got a lot of the things that we like about Yellowstone. We got a flashback. We got, a little bit of substance. We got Jimmy.
I know. We were just saying.
Talking about how much we missed him. We didn't get like a ton of like cowboy action other than kind of moving the cattle and stuff, but we did see a little bit of the action in Texas. So, I think there was a lot of elements that you and I think is like the secret sauce of this show. And I like this episode. There's been a lot of flack online. I went down a couple of rabbit holes today from what we'll talk about, but there's
some
of
mixed
flack that this
comments.
is a boring season, that there's the writing is off. And we're not here to slag the show in any way, shape, or form. We're fans. We like it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there have been some criticisms that we've had of this show, this season in particular. But this episode kind of righted a lot of wrongs for me.
I agree. I think it did a lot of things right and gave us a lot of insight into the things we had questions about and the people we wanted to see, and then left us with really good cliffhanger. So I thought this was a great episode. I'm
excited to talk about it because as I was watching, I was like, oh God, I got questions. I got a lot of questions.
Yeah. Like in true Yellowstone fashion, we start with a flashback, which I do love. Again, I think I say this every episode. I like young John, played by Josh Lucas. So His voice is so gruff in this episode, too. So deep.
I read something somewhere that they kept him and Kevin Costner away from each other so that, like, Josh Lucas would just develop his own John Dutton.
Really?
Yeah, so, but I guess the gravelly voice just goes with the character, I suppose. Yeah. I like it.
I guess so. This is when we see Rip get branded.
But even more than that, we get the story behind the brand.
Yeah.
Was this
and
important?
Why?
Was this important for us to know? Why the brand?
I think that we could kind of have guessed that it just creates loyalty. But it was, a good point to hear from John, like why they started doing that and why it means something. But yeah, we've kind of heard them say, if you wear the brand, this is your home and this is your family and we'll always be here for you. So, but yeah, a little bit of insight into why they started it was good. But what do you think?
I'm glad that we got to hear why. I wasn't surprised that it revolved around cattle. to the way they got initiated. It made sense because then you have a brand. One question I had about it was, John said something, and I just wanted to kind of pick your brain about it. He said that the Cowboys started it, but he, kind of continues it. So, like, is that the way it came about, or do you think that John was kind of the mastermind behind it?
It just feels like John's the mastermind behind it. It feels like it's his way of creating loyalty to him.
Thank you, because that's what I was thinking, and I was like, I don't know if, that kind of organically comes about from the Cowboys to self-mutilate.
Right. It kind of bugged me that he didn't stay, that he was like, no, this is between I'll know in the morning. I was like, come on, man. Because it did feel like it was his initiation or whatever you want to call it. So for him to leave, I thought that was kind of shitty. Like, I don't know, it just felt off.
It felt
Don't
off.
Leave.
And it also didn't feel right because he pushed Rip into it. And he definitely made it sound like Rip did not have a choice.
I thought so too. It's like you take the brand or you go back to Wyoming and don't come back. Like, that's pretty clear message.
Right. And, that indicates that you really don't have a choice there, young Rip.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fact that he didn't stay, I guess that's a power move too. Like, you're going to be loyal to me and I don't even have to stay to see it.
Watching someone get branded in the show is icky. But that added to it, him leaving and then him making it seem like he didn't have a choice. And that's kind of how the branding comes about. Like, I think anytime we've seen someone branded, it didn't seem like they really had much of a choice.
Right. Like, even like the whole crowd that got branded a couple of seasons ago, when Teeter and Ryan and Colby, like, they all got branded all at the same time.
Yeah, they got stomped by the horses.
Well, it was after it was already done.
Yeah.
Then they were like, oh, now you've done it. Now you got to do it.
Then this raised the question to me why Casey got branded. Because if you rewind back to whatever that season was, probably 2 or 3, where they discuss it, the discussion was basically like he branded Casey, John did.
Yeah, himself.
And basically so he wouldn't leave. So that seems very forced. Like, it was not Casey's decision. It was not a choice.
I ended up going down a couple of Yellowstone rabbit holes today because of one of the theories that we have later to talk about. It's my burning question. And one of the articles that I was reading, it talks about the branding that happens in the show. And then it talks about how all of the branding has been done to sort of cover up some sort of criminal activity. Whereas Casey's brand was as punishment because he got Monica pregnant, and John kind of saw this as a little bit of a failure, I suppose, on Casey's part, and needed to punish him for it. So that's how Casey's brand happened. Like, there was nothing criminal around it, where every other brand has been to, like you said, sow some loyalty for something that has happened.
Yeah, it just kind of raised a question again about Casey and why he wears the brand specifically. But every time we see this, we kind of come back around to like, do they have a choice? Is this really creating loyalty? Or it kind of just feels like a trap. I don't know.
It does feel like a trap, all of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the reward for it then is what people who live this type of lifestyle crave: stability, right? Well, to some extent, maybe some don't crave stability. Some people just like to drift. But in this line of work, it's guaranteeing them a job. It's guaranteeing them a place to live for the rest of their life, where you need shelter, you need food, you need safety and security in order to reach your higher potential. So in order to have, to be focused in your job, you have to make sure you know where you're going to sleep tonight, you know where your next meal's coming from. So there is some safety in choosing the brand.
And I think that's why most of them or all of them did, you know? Or they just didn't want to go to the train station.
Right. Or,
I mean,
you know, if they don't know about the train station, they don't want to go to jail.
Right.
Oh, one thing I wanted to ask or just posit, you know, is when we see after Rip gets back from being branded, you know, the cowboys that are sitting around the table, I just keep wondering, that guy Wade from, was it last season or the season before? I'm sorry, I'm getting all my Yellowstones mixed up.
I know.
The guy that they took the brand back from, I feel like it was last season.
Oh, I remember that now.
Before.
Okay.
It was the season before. Remember the guy that they took the brand back from because he knew all of John's...
Yes, Wade Morrow.
Yes. Oh, my God. You remembered his last name. I remembered Wade. I just wonder if Wade is sitting around those tables. Like, anytime we see these flashbacks now. You're
probably right. Yes.
Yeah, I'm reaching deep back into the Yellowstone well there.
Girl, you have such a memory. I'm like, man, all these things blur together sometimes.
But meanwhile, then I walk into the room today and I'm like... I had a purpose in walking in here, but yeah, Wade got hung from a tree and they took back his brand and they killed his son. Well, his son kind of fell off a horse and hit his head on a rock, but you know, tomato.
Exactly. I was about to say that, but yeah, you remember some of these details, but you're right. I bet he is. I know, right? You're funny.
Awkward silence ensues. As we realize we don't get paid.
We don't get paid. We do this for fun.
We do. Okay.
It's cool.
I learned not long ago, and I don't know how we never talked about it, that young Lloyd in the show is actually Lloyd's son.
Yeah. Okay. I think I saw that. You know, girl, like my whole Facebook page is Yellowstone articles and things like that. So I swear I saw that in like a headline somewhere. So yeah, that would make sense. I would think so.
Because I know that I've remarked that, wow, there's an uncanny resemblance between young Lloyd and Lloyd. But yes, that is in IRL, his...
in IRL.
Well, no, not in IRL. IRL, that is his son. And
I saw a headline this week that the girl who plays Clara is somehow related to a producer.
That
of the
was
show.
part of my rabbit hole today. Yes. So Clara is Lily Kay. She is the daughter of Stephen Kay, who has directed 15 episodes and produced 28 episodes of Yellowstone.
Yes.
So he's also worked on The Mayor of Kingstown. So he's steeped in Taylor Sheridan lore. Yeah. And which also then makes Piper Perabo her stepmom.
Oh, okay.
Because she is married to Stephen Kay.
I feel like if you are entered into the Taylor Sheridan world and you are like blessed by him or something, because he puts your music on his show, he puts your children on his show, I'm like, dang, that must be nice to be his friend.
Grimes had a song in this show.
Yes.
It is all in the family here. And by the way, that was an excellent song. Excellent. It's called No Horse to Ride, and it's playing when we get back to the ranch, like when they're corralling up the cattle for loading into the trailers and stuff.
I actually heard that song on the radio before I saw this episode.
Did you know it was him?
I did, because they talked about it. They were saying, "Oh, this is the new song from Luke Grimes."
That's awesome.
I didn't super love it.
I really liked. Well, you know what? I liked it because in the show, because I Shazam everything because I'm 87 years old. As I'm listening to it, I was like, that guy's voice sounds kind of familiar. I was like, who is that? And then I, did it. I was like, Luke Grimes, that's awesome. Yep.
And he got a record deal too.
That's pretty cool. I guess, Taylor Sheridan Universe has
That's
perks.
What I'm saying. Like we get
to see episodes
blesses
early,
you, then you're...
record deal. Yeah.
It's like, if you're in his world, then you're good to go.
But I also think, like, in the context of, like, the moment in the show, things were okay. The crisis of the cattle, it's waned a little bit. So there was no imminent danger. So I think it just had, like, a little moment niched in this little scene here. I'd have to hear it kind of, like, on its own with, like, nothing else kind of...
No, it was a great song over the scene.
Yeah, like,
but just listening to it, like, on its own, I'm not crazy about it, but, I mean... I'm definitely interested in hearing what else he has.
Maybe him and Ryan Bingham will go on tour.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
They'll just be swooning everywhere.
Dang. Ryan, tweet me. No, I'm just kidding.
Send us more ranch water.
Oh my gosh. I know.
Send us more ranch water. That was amazing.
I keep buying more ranch water. Their marketing ploy worked on me.
It really did, because I buy it too.
It did. Yeah, it was good.
I had talked to my local beer distributor last year when we got Nope.
Yeah.
Wasn't last year.
No, it was like
2021. My local beer distributor. I said, "Have you heard of Ranch Water?" He goes, "Yeah, I've heard of it." And he was like, "Why, you want me to order for you?" I said, "Yeah. Could you?" He's like, "You're going to buy it, right?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come back." So I bought so we got the couple of cases sent to us. And then I went back and I told him that they sent it to me. And he shared some of the promo stuff that he got with me because he said his first batch sold out. I didn't even get any.
Oh, really? That's good.
Because it's sold out. So I guess enough people had seen it on Insta and wherever else. And so then I got the next batch. But he was thanking me for that. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I got some more Ranch Water swag, which was awesome.
Anyways.
But we got a glimpse of Jimmy.
I know. It was really nice to have him on the screen. And you were saying like, oh, we really miss him. And then I had maybe. But you're right. It was really needed. And it felt comforting to see him all happy and cute with Emily and wearing wedding rings. Did you see that?
No. I didn't notice wedding rings. Oh, I'm so slow. I'm very observant on certain things, and now apparently not on that.
I noticed it when he was riding a horse, and then when they later when they were both sitting on the bench, like at the end of the day, they both had on wedding rings. So,
I'm gonna have to go. Well, congratulations, Jimmy and Emily.
That's
amazing. There's one part here where Emily kind of did this thing, and I was just like, ugh, did not like that. She snapped at him about the bottle caps. And I was like, is this like a signal of like some trouble in paradise? And Jimmy's really quick to go, but I'm happy.
Is it just like married life? Like it's like when you first get married and you fight over like the toothpaste or something? Like this is like one of those first year. This is one of those first year marriage fights is the bottle caps. I'm guarantee you. Because ours was the toothpaste.
We're so wizened at our
ours was the toothpaste.
I had a little bit of discomfort there, but you're making me feel better.
Yeah, it was just a little like they just got married. You have to like get used to somebody.
And their disgusting habits. His, not mine. No.
Yeah, right.
I don't have disgusting habits. Sure, I don't. But I was happy to see that Jimmy seems so much more at ease with being a cowboy, or at least a Texas cowboy. I don't know. He just never really felt in place in Montana.
Right.
So I'm liking.
I thought that we saw him shirtless to see the brand like on purpose, though. That made me think for like half a second, like, does he end up back at the Yellowstone? Because he wears the brand. So is he just the Texas satellite campus of Yellowstone, or is he going to go back there? But now that he's married, I don't know. But as we saw with Wade Morrow, who you just brought up, people do leave the ranch wearing the brand. So
they do.
It could happen.
Wade was, I guess,
maybe he didn't leave on good terms, but I'm just saying, yeah, what I mean is there might be people wandering the earth wearing the brand who don't actually reside on the Yellowstone.
One thing when you just said that about people walking the earth with the brand who don't live at the Yellowstone, John also has all these horses out there that Travis is racing for him and not racing, but doing like the horse cutting and the different events with the horses that he got. I feel like it was last season. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I know that I think it was last season that he invested in all these horses, and we hadn't heard a peep out of it this season. But we heard about it this episode where John's asking Rip about like, what outfit they're going to get to help him out in Texas, and he mentioned Travis. It also just made me think that John has an empire beyond the Yellowstone.
Right.
That he's building. And that's more maybe why I think we saw the brand as a reminder that John's not as small potatoes as he kind of makes himself out to be.
Or at least he's starting to branch out.
Yeah, starting to pay attention to like his surroundings and calling on. I wouldn't be surprised if like Jimmy is not called upon when they get down to Texas to either lead some sort of faction or relieve Rip because maybe some shit goes down at home that he's got to go back for, some train station like shit or something.
Right?
There's a lot of possibilities, but because and then if nothing else, even if he has Emily, he still has to be loyal to the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the questions are afoot now.
Yeah.
We've got 6 episodes to go, so there's a lot of time to pack in here, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jimmy being called upon for some sort of cowboy action. And don't forget, I don't think he's going anywhere, honestly, because he's part of the 4 Sixes show that eventually we'll get. So I think he's kind of staying put, but I think he's going to have a bigger role to play going in the last half of the season.
We would like that.
We would like that. So we see Jimmy as this easy Texas cowboy, and then we head back to Montana, where the cowboys in Montana are getting ready to be Texas cowboys.
Yeah.
Going forward for a year or so.
Crazy.
So they're like packing up the cattle and getting ready to ship out. So Monica and John have this conversation as all of this cattle action is happening in the background. Do you remember that episode when John sits down with her and tells her about his brother? Paul and I had recorded that episode. You were out of commission that week. Yeah. And I was like, Paul, I'm not proud to say it. Like, I was a blubbering mess for this little speech by John about this little boy living this perfect life. And, it got me in the mom feels. Yeah.
Yeah, right? I know.
And I just liked how easy Monica and John looked. At least Monica with John. That she was thanking him for these words and how she leaned on them. And there was just this hint of relaxation. Mm-hmm. Did you get that for just a few moments?
Yeah. Well, it's almost like a different way to relate to someone, a different level of understanding of each other or why he is the way he is. You know, like it's like a little bit of insight into someone. So it's like she saw a slightly different side of him. And this conversation really helped that as well by him coming to her and asking for Casey's help. That probably did a lot to soften or continue to soften her view of him. That was sort of in their conversation, like a different level of like kindness or understanding to the way that they speak or handle each other. So
it's like this trauma bond, like the two of them now,
yeah.
They know that they've experienced the same kind of loss. Granted, Monica's was a baby, and that's very tragic, but there's no easy way to lose a child. So John and Lee, I'll never forget season 1, episode 1, he's sitting in the graveyard holding Lee.
I know. Oh my God.
So, they have this bond, but then also John was able to relate a story that his mother experienced, and you just relate to somebody on a different level when you know that you have like this trauma bond. And like you said, there's this understanding between them that he knows the way to get to KC is to make sure that Monica's felt heard and respected. And good job on him for reading the room and going to Monica to talk to her because he's learning. And this is the good thing about John. Yeah. He's evolving as a character. He knows he doesn't want to lose Casey again. And he's come very close a couple of times here. And now he realizes that the way to get to KC is to make sure that his family is made whole all the time.
And just by asking and her saying, like, all you had to do was ask. Like, and that's kind of how it is. Like, nobody wants to be told what to do. But if you ask somebody for something, most people care and they would love to help you. You know what I mean? So it's like, just ask me and I'll do whatever I can. But tell me, maybe, nope, not doing it. So.
Right. And then also, like, your dad telling you, there's always this sort of, like, rebellious streak in you. So.
Like, I'm just not going to do it because you told me how to do it. And that's kind of how I am. Oops. But, so yeah, and I thought that was funny that he was like, well, now I know. So yeah, I liked that scene a lot.
A little bit of humility as well. Now I know.
Yeah.
Because he's only used to one way of doing things. So
yeah. John seemed kind of like sad in this, like telling everybody goodbye, talking to Rip, and then hugging Casey and telling him, I love you. That I was like, what's going on? Like,
I don't think I've ever seen John hug one of his kids while they're alive.
Well, and I thought to myself, too, he hugged him technically in front of like a whole ranch full of cowboys and men and, like we're doing cowboy shit.
Like, the two of them beat the snot out of each other a couple of seasons ago.
So they're like hugging. He's like hugging. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting that he didn't care that he was in the middle of his ranch in front of all those people and he hugged his son. So, because that doesn't seem like the John that we have seen in the past.
No. And I was trying to figure out like what is going on with John. Like, I feel like maybe because the hug and telling him that he loves Casey is just so out of character. I feel like the breaking up of his team with Rip going away and
sending people away,
half the bunkhouse, being the chaperone to these cattle all the way down to Texas. I think it's scaring John because it's like a foreshadowing of his ranch disappearing.
Right. That's true.
And I guess he's getting a little sentimental, a little emotional, and he's got nowhere else to put it but on his son. Mm-hmm. As much as he's got this understanding with Monica, he can't reach out to her, and he doesn't feel the same way about her.
Yeah.
As he does with Casey. And I guess he feels like he's losing everybody too. So maybe he's got to try something different to maybe keep them. So again, this is like his growth as a character, and I'm enjoying the fact that he's trying out different feelings.
Right.
He's taking love out for a spin, seeing how it fits, how it handles. But now this question that he asks of Monica, basically roping her and her family into running the ranch while he's away and Rip is away. Does he already know the answer to the question when he asks it of Monica, or is he going to her to ask her this in an effort to gain her support?
I didn't feel like he already knew the answer.
Okay. I don't think so either. I think he was hedging a bet.
Yeah. I think he was like, okay, how can I get Casey to stay? The best way to, but it didn't feel manipulative either. It just felt like he realized.
Felt genuine.
Yeah.
But it also felt like he had nobody else to ask.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, well, the only one left is the most capable. And then he also framed it in the nicest of ways possible by saying, well, if this is going to be Tate's one day, he's got to know how to do it.
Yeah, I think that was smart of him to throw Tate's name in there.
Right? It's definitely going to, make Monica to sit up and pay attention. And then he offers another property. I was like, how many houses are on this ranch? That East Camp is another one.
The East Camp.
Close to the reservation. So he really fired on a lot of cylinders here to make this as palatable as possible for Monica. But again, good for him for knowing how to read the room finally.
Right.
At least in this instance.
Yeah, I think he did good. I thought it was funny too when Casey was like, have you seen the East Camp? It is not great.
Well, that happens later, right?
Yeah, that happens later.
So he's not selling East Camp in the best way possible, but Monica knows she's had the time to process this. And again, this is where I feel like John did a really master stroke here, because it gave Monica a lot of time to think about the pros and cons before Casey
came. Yeah.
Because as much as Casey's grown as a character since we first met him, he still would have just been like, yeah, my dad wants us to run the ranch. Like, he just wouldn't have sugarcoated it in any way possible. But, she's had the time to think about this, and it definitely sounds like the first pass is pretty good for her. She's excited about it because it's just not something that she had thought of before. And then, she's still grieving actively. So this no nursery house is probably the most
Oh, I know. When she said that, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like not ready to take it down. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right.
My heart.
Then, so it's just easier just to turn the key and walk away.
Yeah, for sure.
Leave it to somebody who's not emotionally attached to that outcome. So that'll be interesting to see as the ranch problems develop without John sort of paying it close attention and how they handle it.
Right.
These are all the things I'm psyching myself up for this long break.
We're going to have a lot of time to come up with possible outcomes.
I know. So the next phase of this episode kind of brings us back to the thread that's been happening throughout this season, and this lead up to how John is not running the state in a very, kosher way.
Yeah.
And I just like the fact that Jamie's impeachment speech, I kept typing impeach speech. And
impeach speech.
And it just made me laugh. But I just appreciated that we knew that this presentation before the state legislature was coming on his behalf. But the fact that they left it to a little past halfway in the episode, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Way to dangle a carrot.
I really liked the way they overlaid the Senate hearing with the Rainwater press conference and the two, John and Jamie, talking back and forth. That was really interesting to watch. I think that was more interesting to hear what they were going to say next, but when you were going back and forth between them. So I really liked that whole scene.
It did a great job to ratchet up the tension because it was going back and forth because it would cut off from Jamie when he was laying out the charges, this egregious act of dereliction. And then, you see them assembling for the press conference at Broken Rock. It was just enough break in the tension, and then everything happening at Broken Rock was bringing you right back up. It was a very masterful way to kind of play with our emotions.
Yeah, and John's speech at Broken Rock, it gave us more because, he keeps saying that word progress, and then he just has a sentence, and then he's like, and I'm the one who's going to stand against it. He did a really good job of diving deeper into that.
He didn't sound like a politician.
Yeah.
He still sounded like himself, but he was doing the political game. I think he was taking Liddell's advice, saying if you don't play the game will play you. And he was saying the right things. You know, if we're targeting a community that has been run down and, you know, has been overlooked in so many other capacities, and we're going to do this again, he's got a strained community. I thought that was a really great way to put it, because that's a very big gloss over, you know, the last 250 years of relations with the Native American population. But in this context, it's both self-serving and noble, the way he comes across, right?
Exactly.
So he's still doing it his way, but he's doing the right thing for the people of the state of Montana, which is something you and I have, like, from episode 1 of this season, we're like, how well does he govern?
Yeah.
Because all of this was self-serving to a point, and then we're like, okay, well, once he's done his thing, now what?
Yeah.
So I'm appreciating the now what, and we're getting to see that he is standing up to the people of Montana. And as much as we can talk about how much he's standing up for the people of Montana, there's also this big veil around it, because it's also pertaining to his ranch.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he has almost come out and said that before, like in his speeches of like, we just don't want the airport,
right?
Which equals I don't want it on my land. But he didn't say that specifically. So he was saying, you know, this will lead to disastrous effects of this community. Like, he was talking about someone else other than himself. And so it did come off like more genuine.
But were his intentions pure when he showed up? Because this little conversation that he has with Rainwater just had me kind of scratching my head going, this feels disingenuous, John. But then he gets up and he has this speech. Yeah. Again, I feel like the speech is a little bit self-serving. You can kind of take away whatever the nouns that he's talking about here, like running a pipeline. You can take out running a pipeline and you can put in out-of-town residents, you know, or out-of-state residents living here. Out-of-state residents may be progress for the owners of the... I just took the notes out. Running a pipeline might be progress for the owners of the pipeline, but for the strained community it impacts. Yeah. Like, I feel like he can just take out running a pipeline and put in whatever thing annoys him. Yeah. Environmental groups with wolves, you know, whatever it ends up being. So while he sounded like himself, but there was also like this political edge to it.
Yeah, of course.
Which made it sound like a governor should speak. But then, like, when you and I dial it back, we're like, it's just same old John.
Yeah, he's just
doing his thing for
still
his ranch.
Just not wanting a pipeline on his land, but...
Because I'm sure that some of that pipeline in some way, shape, or form is going to touch some of his land.
Well, yeah.
So him coming out forcefully against it with the full weight of his office behind it also insulates him going forward, too. So
I don't know. I like the way that John found out about the impeachment. That was really good. That was exciting to watch. It like trickled through the crowd, and then like poor Rainwater, he's up there trying to speak. And I think the second time I watched it, I was trying to listen to what he was saying, and like, no, you couldn't even make out what he was saying. There was nothing. Like, no one's listening to him. I was like, poor guy, man. But this was, the news reporters all screaming at him, and so I don't know. I thought that was an interesting way for him to find out versus him just sitting on the couch and like throwing a glass into the fire. You know? Right.
I like that Linnell was there to coach him, because I feel like if she hadn't been there, it would have been a different outcome. I don't think that he would have held his temper.
I don't know. In public, like on a stage?
I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting quandary to kind of debate, because I'm just like, I don't know if she was there just like in his ear at that moment going, composure. Yeah. I don't know if he would have had the same level of composure.
I think he might have not said much like he did and then walked off, but I don't know.
It's one for the ages. We'll have to agree to disagree. Sorry, we said that last episode. We hate that phrase.
I'm just saying, and we don't like that word.
No, we don't like it. No, but I just wasn't sure if he would have had the same level of stature had she not just be like, don't respond, just get out of here. But I did like that he was like, nope, this isn't about me. You have to make this about the issue that we're talking about, because it's still going to be here tomorrow. And which is basically another way for him to be like slam dunk Jamie into the pavement, because he's just like, this little, gnat doesn't matter. Yeah. He'll be, yesterday's news tomorrow. So I have a question for you, though, before we get off this topic, was about Rainwater. So Linnell is there, and she's saying that this is like kind of light presence on the stage from the council, And, he divulges to Linnell that, there's a power struggle happening within the Broken Rock tribe.
Yeah.
How is he going to remain chairman in your eyes if the only two people who really kind of support him are the federal senator and the governor?
I'm kind of questioning whether he does. He seems less formidable now. I think we were discussing last time, what's he going to do about Angela? We haven't seen any action from him as far as, campaigning or...
And the first time we met Angela, they were both afraid of her, so...
Yeah, so it doesn't feel
I
like he's...
I like what you just said, that he seems less formidable, because that's the nail on the head that I'm like,
yeah.
Because he
something's different with...
Yeah, he doesn't feel as stoic or as composed, I guess, as he's been in the past. He feels a little... I don't know, his appearance is a little unkempt. His hair's not quite in place like it used to be. There's, little telltale signs that, he's kind of unraveling at his core a little.
Interesting. I'll have to go back and watch.
Yeah,
but yeah,
they're also outside and stuff like that. But I feel like it's been a couple times when we've seen him, he just hasn't been as polished as he's been in the past. Whereas he's had outside speeches before and outside activities, and not a hair on his head moved. Whereas this time it was a little
or
disheveled.
He seemed more confident or something, or spoke more.
Yeah, I think just rounding it out, saying he just seems less formidable is enough of a statement, and then everybody can draw their own conclusions from that. But I think that's the stature that we need to look at this from. He is not the Tom Rainwater from season 1.
And that's kind of what's making me feel like I'm not sure that he does sort of defeat Angela Rainwater. Angela Blue Thunder. Yeah.
Right. He's just kind of letting things happen, and he's playing defense, not offense, to use a term from later in the show.
Right.
But yeah, it just remains to be seen how this all plays out, because Angela's not going to be the one to replace him, because she's working with the president, right? We learned this last time out. But this guy Martin that she's kind of grooming doesn't seem to have much of a presence, other than he was just spotted this show. So we're not sure where this goes, but it's just something just to keep an eye on. But and then also just keeping an eye out for what you said, that he just doesn't look quite as formidable, and just watching that and see where that goes.
Yeah.
Before we move off of this topic of conversation, I got to ask you, did you maybe see or hear or pick up on something from Clara? I was kind of seeing some long lingering looks this episode from her. She was kind of all in on John. Following the Jamie announcement about the impeachment, she was like, well, it's all conjecture. She was just so...
She was so adamant.
Flustered. Yes.
Yeah.
She was adamant about it. She was flustered by it. I don't know. Is there maybe some feeling, some admiration for John? She did go with him, up the mountain with the cattle and to the branding and to the fair. I feel like there's, as much as trauma bonding with John and Monica, there was some, cattle bonding between John and Clara here.
I wouldn't have written down that I saw a spark in her eye or something, but maybe it's just more of a sense of familiarity, less professional relationship now that they've spent some time together, outside of work, doing the branding
she just
and going to the fair.
And all in for John.
Because wasn't she kissing a woman at the fair? Or
she had her little moment there.
So, which doesn't mean she's not into John. I'm just saying,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
I did forget about that, so.
Yeah.
But I just think that she's set aside any of the sort of bewilderment that she felt initially at how he was approaching running Montana. And I think her seeing how he lives and his dedication to his land has allied her loyalty. I'm hoping she doesn't need a brand to show that loyalty. But,
no.
You never know with these buttons. Who knows? But maybe that was it. Maybe it was just more along the lines of...
you're more comfortable with someone after you've gone on vacation with them. You know what I mean? Think of it that way.
Yeah. That maybe. All right. Maybe. All right, talk me back. That's okay. That's good. Maybe that's more what I was seeing, I suppose.
Yeah. I don't know that it was a spark, but maybe it's just a
professional spark or a
friendly glimmer. I don't know.
A friendly glimmer. I love it. Okay. I just wanted to talk to you about that because I was like, all right, you see a lot of things like that too. So I just wanted to see what your take was on that. So, sometimes I read a little too much into these things. Who knows?
Yeah.
Beth has this cute little moment with her perfume and her bra, and she's like looking at the empty bed, and I was just like, oh man. So I thought Beth was growing some feelings, but that got squashed nice and quick.
Yeah.
All right. I spent a lot of time today on Facebook looking at some Yellowstone theories. This whole back and forth between her and Summer now with the Tito's and the Scotch and the peanut M&Ms and the peanut allergy, and are they what are they? Are they frenemies? Are they mean girls? What are they?
I don't know. I feel like frenemies is even a stretch a little. They're just coexisting, I think. In a mildly friendly way, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very weird dynamic between them, but I feel like Beth is right. They're going to get along just fine because they kind of have this, after the big brawl a couple episodes ago, I guess they feel like they have this sense of, that's where we got the agree to disagree thing.
Yes,
from.
Exactly. And why does Summer still look so beat up and Beth looks okay?
Well,
I was like, dang, her face still looks horrible.
Yeah. We gotta talk to Beth's plastic surgeon. I've been watching a lot of Grey's Anatomy lately. I'm catching up on life, and she needs a Dr. Mark Sloan in her life.
Yes.
So.
Don't we all, Sheila?
Yes. Don't we all? McDreamy and McSteamy.
I was always Team McSteamy all the way.
But then this is where Beth learns about Jamie's ultimate betrayal.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you about Beth's look, her reaction. Was this what you expected, or did you expect a big blowout?
Yeah, I expected the screaming or the throwing of the bar glass into the fire again. Some action. I definitely knew she was going to hunt him down. But in the moment, I thought there would be some sort of scream or something. But
this was for me the moment when you're a kid. And now that we're parents, I'm sure we have those moments too. When mom gets quiet, that's when mom is scary. When Beth got quiet angry here, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh Lord, this is bad. Because it was so much worse for her to be composed. She just let slip motherfucker. There was really no other reaction. But her eyes were telling you that her mind was worrying. And for me, it was much more of a scary Beth than when she's flinging ashtrays and, killing intruders and stabbing Jamie with whatever she's got around her. But the other thing that I was really shocked at was the legislature vote in the actual news.
I know. I did think that too. I thought, wow.
67-33. Which
that had a lot of weight to it. That's not nothing.
Solid majority. That is a 2/3 majority, That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And then, keep in mind that John didn't win this election in a landslide, so he does not seem to have a lot of allies in the legislature to back him up. The only one he's really got is Linnell, and she's in Washington. So this is going to be interesting to play out because she still holds a lot of political weight in Montana, and how much of that is she going to exercise to save him?
I don't know that she could.
So that was just another little aside that I was just like, oh, wow, that was surprising.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he has a whole lot of weight in this fight, other than, what did he call it? Menace. But, I meant political weight, I definitely expected Beth to show up at Jamie's house. Totally saw her breaking in the house. That was coming for sure. Even hitting him in the head with the rock. I was like, damn. But I don't know. I'm always slightly Team Jamie. I was really happy that he manhandled her. He tried to push her away. He was like, get out of my house. Normally he's sitting there all shivering and quivering and silent and scared look. And he's yelling back at her and putting her in her place a little bit. I just enjoyed that scene a lot. And for her to not know about the train station, that's shocking to me. And I know there's some logistical questions around that, but just in general, I liked that about this confrontation, that Jamie was really, think about it. What are you going to do? And it just felt good, I guess, to have him stand up to her and say, you don't have anything because you can't share that. Don't you think that there's other secrets at the bottom of that hill? I didn't think that Sarah should come sauntering down the stairs. That part was ugh. I don't know.
That felt cheap.
It did. It felt icky in that moment for her to do that. And because then Beth turned her attention like, oh, you know, the comment about the marionette. She's like, oh, I am. Like, that was just, no.
Every inch of him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I really liked him yelling back at her.
Yes. So much in this short scene did so much for me. I want to talk first about Jamie's laugh. When he laughs at her. He laughs at Beth. Go, did you even know? And just how he laughed, I was like, oh, like, we have a new level of cold unlocked here.
Yeah.
It was the first time that Jamie, I think in however many episodes there's been, 5.5 seasons, it's the first time he's had the upper hand with any of the Duttons.
Yeah.
And he was enjoying every second.
I want to say, like, as he should, because they are so horrible to him. But I know the situation, it's like he's, you know, the traitor or whatever. But I just like him standing up to her because she is so horrible to him through every interaction. Part of me is sort of rooting for him to, like, piss her off even more or something.
This next part is the entire, like, rabbit hole of my entire existence today. How in the hell does Beth not know about the train station?
Right.
She showed up at the train station, and we can talk about this. The finale of season 4, I went back and watched that whole episode today because I was like, but she... So the way
she was there first.
Well, I wanted to see how this came about, right? So she came at Jamie from a different angle in season 4, the finale in season 4, episode 10. She came at him as he was approaching the cliff, which to me seems like she was there already.
Yeah.
It's a dark road. It's very remote. So that kind of eliminates her following him.
Yeah.
Right? He would have heard her pull up behind him. I don't care what kind of a sneaky car she thinks she has. Sorry, our friend Paul texted that in our group.
Sneaky car.
That because we were tossing around this theory because I was like, am I crazy? I might be, but
no. I mean, logistically, it doesn't add up. But like I said, the look on her face when she doesn't realize that this is the train station, that was really, really good to watch. But I agree with you in that it doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up for a couple of reasons. One, yeah, sure, the logistics that she was there is one. But also, like, Jamie even laughed when he laughed at her, saying, like, you know, a century's worth of Dutton secrets are there. Like, it wasn't their dad that figured this out. This was, you know, Duttons before them. And we're kind of seeing some of that play out in 1923. That's in its 3rd episode, I think, now. But that she didn't give any thought to the fact that there's this other side to where do those enemies go. You can't tell me that this woman who foresaw needing to build a moat around her father's ranch and buying up all these properties, like, and figuring out a conservation easement. Right.
And smart.
And figuring out to sell market equities, her stake in market equities, or no, Schwartz and Meyer before market equities got to her. You can't tell me from that logistical standpoint that she didn't know that all of a sudden some of these people just disappeared. Like, did she not wonder where her cowboy boyfriend went to way back when? Yeah, he was a drifter, blah, blah, blah. But how did Jamie know about it and not Beth? Because it seemed like when they were younger, Beth spent much more time around the bunkhouse boys than Jamie did. Jamie, you see him when he's younger. He's there branding cattle, but everybody was all hands on deck for branding cattle, which we saw the last couple episodes.
Okay, so think back to, like, season 1. They introduced Jamie as, like, the legal cover-up for anything they need to cover up. He's had to cover up, you know, the hitmen that they killed. He's had to, you know, like, he's had to have known.
Right, he's had to have his hands dirty at some point. But to know about the train station, I feel like is different. Like, I don't know.
Like, to his point, you know, where do you think those guys that attacked her in the office went? And what was it? I'm trying to think back to season 1 when he was, like, also legally covering up some sort of missing. I can't remember, but I just feel like he would have had to have had that information at some point because he's a lawyer. So he would say, okay, well, where did this person go? Or, you know, he covered up the people who were on the ranch, like, shooting at Monica and Tate. Like, I don't know. Logistically, I feel like it makes sense for him to know it. Maybe not the exact location. I don't feel like he's ever been there before. you know.
Well, he seemed to know about it from when he was dropping his dad off there last season.
Well,
so
yeah. I mean, he wasn't like putting it in MapQuest, so. Wait, do we still have MapQuest?
Oh my God, I had to turn away from the microphone. It was getting too hot to putting in Waze.
Waze.
What happens when you put the train station in Waze? Yeah,
right. There's a like little icon that pops up. Don't go there.
Little skull and crossbones.
Yeah.
So funny. Yeah, so I'm just, this whole thing with Beth not knowing about the train station, I just find it a little hard to swallow, only because of how the last episode of season 4 was set up. You know, like logistically, the way that, you know, she approached Jamie, she did not come from behind. She did not follow his car there. And there's no way she could drive with her headlights off. Like, I kind of imagined a lot of different scenarios here.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely felt like she was waiting for him there. Like, that was
she
the
had
assumption.
time to approach him from the angle that she wanted.
Yeah, she had time to wait for him to
unload the body and stuff like that.
Body.
But I did appreciate how well Jamie presented this side that she was so blindsided by, and he literally diced it up like an onion and served it up to her.
That's nice.
You know,
I just enjoyed seeing that. Finally.
It was satisfying to see Beth caught off guard. I will say that. And this is her own fault for me even saying this, of how horribly she's been at like the brink of all these really horrible events. Like, she's like the mastermind behind so much horrible stuff that I'm just like, I don't have a lot of pity for her. I don't have a lot of time for her immaturity now. And I just feel like you got served a little bit here.
Good for him. Like, that's how I felt about it.
And then he got in further digs. Like, the goal is protecting the ranch for future generations, of which you have none. I was like, how she didn't murder him in this moment, but she was so blindsided that she was paralyzed. His idea for then is, you know, monetizing the ranch any which way he can. And then he kind of compliments her in the most backhanded of ways, right? Saying that, you know, she's smart and that, you know, the cattle business is not the way forward.
Yeah.
And that she
knows all this, you know? And she does.
But now he says something here, and I was just like, oh. He says the greatest threat to the ranch is their father.
Yeah.
And Jamie's going to remove the threat, which to me sounds like so much more than just the governor's office.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
I think he might be looking for a 2-for-1 kind of a deal. Because if he eliminates John, then he gets to do whatever he wants to protect the ranch the way he sees it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he gets Beth out of the way, then that's his biggest obstacle right there. It was something that I saw it on the second time I watched it, that I was like, oh, that didn't sound right.
I didn't pick up on that because I heard, you know, in my mind, I was assuming he just meant the governorship. But yeah, you're right. I mean, because just removing him as governor wouldn't really solve that problem for the ranch.
Right. And now he's got his kid that he wants to think about and protect his future. Still don't know what happened to Christina. She might have hightailed it after she figured out about Jamie's dad, but I don't know. I feel like we're not done with her. I feel like she's going to come back in a barreling way somehow. But now Sarah, however much of this she heard, I mean, she probably heard a lot of it because...
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh no. Like, she probably heard all of it.
I was like, yeah, exactly. And like, now she knows about the train station too.
Yeah, that's where I was like, ooh, that's not good.
And then she just had to interject herself into the drama.
I mean, her knowing what they're talking about, that's not good. Because,
not this conversation.
No.
So Beth finding out about the train station, obviously she goes to John and has this conversation with him. So John's already had a whammy of a day with the impeachment. And then we talked about at the top of this episode where the news report is talking about the wolf radio collars that were recovered, and the data indicates it's not good for John.
Yeah, on Governor Dutton's land.
Right, yeah, they just spelled it out right there. There was, you know. And this is another moment where Clara is indignant. She's like, oh, they never reached out for comment. And, you know, she stood up like she was just like, they never did that.
She's already on the defensive, like, that doesn't hold up. Like,
right, like that never came through me kind of thing. So I appreciated Clara's loyalty as well, because it's a moment where John probably needed it more than anything.
Yeah.
Because even Linnell is just like, oh, they smell blood in the water. which kind of makes it feel like she's jumping ship a little.
Well, there's only so much you can do. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's not savior in the situation in any way. She might be able to help.
Right.
And she's tried all along to guide him and advise him, and he doesn't always listen. So I think she's just looking at this like, oh, here we go. You know, I don't think that she's really going to be able to offer all that much help.
Beth finding out about the train station and confronting John about this. How did this conversation play out for you? Was it a satisfying explanation and one that Beth is going to believe?
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, it doesn't need a whole lot of detail to understand what they use it for. You know, like he called it a trash can for all the people who attack us. So, I mean, you know, she can think back probably to lots of memories or past thoughts of like, oh yeah, well then what happened to that guy or this, you know, like there's probably people from the ranch that she might have a memory of as a child, and like the cowboy that we were mentioning earlier. Mm-hmm. And it might make her like think back and be like, oh yeah, that guy disappeared. Oh yeah, like so-and-so disappeared.
Right,
or
the men who attacked her.
You know, and then wasn't it when she first started spending the night with Rip, he had to leave at like 3 a.m. or something. He said something about wolves or whatever. So, I mean, those things would come back to mind.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but Rip also had some sort, I believe. But yeah, those things would sort of circle back in your memory and you'd think back and say, okay, yeah. So I think she'll come to realize like how much is there, like how many secrets are there. You know, she has a good point. Well, Jamie knows about it. Like, don't you understand? Like, this is a huge problem. Did you expect her to suggest putting Jamie in the train station?
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we saw that one coming.
I thought for sure that it was the only logical conclusion that she was going to come to.
Exactly.
And the way she says it, there's no other path forward for Jamie, unfortunately. That there's a place where our enemies go and no one knows about it, then that's the place for him. But the thing that for me was like, John didn't say no.
That's it. Yeah. That's what got, he like, there was a pause and then that's
he said nothing. And sometimes silence is affirmation, right?
Yeah. That was the big moment for me when he didn't respond. Because that's that cliffhanger we were talking about.
You know, there's something too that John said to Beth that had me a little bit, not mocking her intelligence, but what am I trying to say? Where he said that she shouldn't be so shocked that they might sometimes need a way to circumvent the consequences of defending themselves, which was a very roundabout way of saying that sometimes we need to sidestep the law. And why is this should be shocking to her? It's essentially like Jamie laughing and saying, how didn't you know? Did you even know? You know, for Beth to be blindsided by this, everybody else seems to think that this is ridiculous, that she doesn't know, but also the fact that she hasn't questioned the need for it. Go back to when Tate was attacked and kidnapped and the militia that they slaughtered. Where do you think all those bodies went? Like, she knows what happened there. You can't just have a trail of dead bodies and not account for it, you know?
They can't all go kayaking.
But I also appreciated how John described this. So we'd been clued into this place a couple of years back, the Zone of Death, it's called, and it's along the Wyoming border, like it's Wyoming-Idaho border, something like that. But the way he described it is exactly how...
Yes. That's how it was like they were reading the Wikipedia description
page,
that we read a few seasons ago.
Like a jurisdictional dead zone with zero population in the county. I'm like... After like the traffic that I sat in for the last week, I'm just like, you know what? That sounds attractive. But yeah, so just going back to this, like, I don't buy that Beth was that naive about it.
Yeah.
You know, the fallout from this has me worried. Like, we said this a couple of episodes back that, like, I'm worried about Beth's handle on reality because she keeps getting pulled back into these haunting moments of her past. And she just seems to be acting so much more erratically that I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go for you, Beth, because you're not doing so good. And I just feel like a blow like this of just not knowing this one thing that your arch nemesis knows and laughed at you for, it's going to cause her to make some costly mistakes, I feel.
Yeah.
But I was not shocked in the least when she suggested that that's where Jamie goes. And just the fact that John said nothing, I was like, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong right now between Beth and Jamie. And you know what? At this point, like, just kill each other.
Right.
Because, like, I've I need them to move on from this feud. But like, it's getting so much bigger. There has to be some dramatic tension that has to be alleviated here, because these two are just, they're like balloons that are about to pop.
Yeah, it's getting crazy, because when we cut back to Jamie and he's talking to Sarah, I don't know that I expected him to go on the offense like that.
It's very out of character for who he's been all this time.
So for him to start talking about making a move, that's even scarier, because now they're both, someone's going to die.
It's like two missiles headed right for a collision path.
Yes,
they're both headed on the same trajectory. So, who's going to flinch kind of thing.
Exactly. Jamie's definitely right. Like he's right to believe that Beth is going to try to have him killed. And Sarah kind of laughs it off like, really?
But also like Jamie's saying that Beth is a monster. Yes, she's been this way her whole life. We know that. But he said that she used to stab him at the dinner table with a fork. No reason, just for the fun of it. I'm like, no reason. I'm like, Jamie, you still have to atone for your reason why Beth hates you. At least don't say no reason. Like, she has reason to hate me. Don't want to get into it with you right now.
And
just saying that she's done it as an adult as well. I'm just like, well, that makes more sense to me than maybe her doing it as an 8-year-old. Not sure about all that. But my gut is definitely telling me that this is not going to go well.
No.
For one, I don't think Jamie thinks he's being played. I don't think he thinks that. Like, I feel like Sarah she's laid out this roadmap for him, and he has literally ticked all the boxes along the checkpoints here. Somehow I feel like this one's going to backfire on him somehow. The support will go away. The litigation will not go as planned. Something like that. Somehow the rug is going to get pulled out from under him. Also, I think there's a bigger problem here with this hitman thing being brought up on Jamie. So Jamie going on offense. I feel like the big problem here is I feel like the conversation is going to go something like, kill the blonde at the ranch. But Jamie doesn't know that Summer's there. Okay. She's blonde too. So I kind of feel like that might be a problem. I don't think they're going to be checking IDs when they're going to do this. So that was like a big question mark, because I was like, if they just go on what the person looks like, it's the blonde woman at the ranch. That really narrows it down.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree that this impeachment isn't going to work out for Jamie. I don't think it's going to work out for him, in real life with his family. But, why wouldn't this path play out? It seems like it's looking like it might, as far as, that Senate vote and the news. And I think he might be able to get John impeached, but I don't think there's a long play after that. And I think that might be when Sarah cuts and runs.
Once she gets what she wants out of him, the airport project reinstated, she's out. But I just feel like there's going to be destruction in her path.
Yeah, she's going to literally throw Jamie to the wolves, his family, the literal wolves. That happens before. Yeah, if the timing of that, she would just literally walk away and leave him to try to stay alive.
Try to stay alive. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It's not going to look good for him after this. That is for sure.
So I think, like you said, with Jamie and Beth being two missiles pointing at each other, it looks like it's going to come down to whoever makes the first move, I guess, at this point, who has the quicker timing. But again, I said a couple of weeks ago or episodes ago, I don't know that you can make the Attorney General disappear without raising more questions. So I don't know that they can just send him to the train station.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly that you can't just make a public figure disappear without questions being raised. And surely this is where Christina will raise her head, to come back in and start making waves, because now her baby daddy is gone. But also the people who make the train station happen, Rip being a very large part of that, he's gone. Some of the people who would be, I don't like to use the word accomplices, but they would be accomplices in this.
Yeah, I don't see, because normally it's not going to be John and Beth driving out there. So you're right. Who would actually take him there? I see what you mean.
John's not above doing the dirty work. He took that guy Chester there last season.
Mm-hmm. It would have to be them. You can't send Colby.
Yeah, that's personal, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but maybe it would be Beth and John, and that it's Beth's branding somehow.
Oh, geez. Oh, no.
She's already been branded. She's good. She survived.
She's got a lot of scars.
She's got a lot of scars. She's good. Yeah. And we don't have to question her loyalty to John ever.
Yeah.
But the logistics of the fallout of making someone like Jamie disappear would raise questions. And I feel like at some point there will be some sort of like forensic mishap that would lead them there somehow. Because like if Wikipedia and TikTok knows about the zone of death, I'm pretty sure the cops know about the zone of death.
Yeah, right. They might go check there eventually.
They might, I had posted a picture a while back on the Facebook group of like what the train station looks like in the daylight. And it's like a whole like just canyon of skulls and bones. Doesn't look good. They'll find Wade there for sure.
Yeah. This is like the big, we've had several cliffhangers, several moments that were huge in this episode, but this is the one that we want to see next and who's going to do what. And so it was a really good sort of build up to this. I think Jamie standing up to Beth made it even that more juicy. And so it's like, I'm super excited just to see what happens. Like it's very uncertain. And now we're talking hitmen and train stations. So this is going to be interesting to watch. All the
gloves are off now.
Yeah. So,
and also, with Rip leaving, I just feel like there's a security element to the ranch and to Beth now that's missing.
That's true.
Like your heavy hitters, Walker's gone, Rip is gone. There's Jimmy's not there. Not that he was a heavy hitter, but he was at least someone who would do what he was told and keep his mouth shut. Just leaving Casey and Monica and Tate right now running the ranch.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like they can withstand any other storm at the ranch. Like,
yeah, they're a little fragile at the moment. Yeah. They just need, they need time to regroup and heal. And I don't think that this role is going to allow them to do that. But I did like the fact that Casey's vision came back in here as well. Yeah. When he said that he had to make a choice. Ended. And it was between the ranch and Monica. And like, this feels like the middle ground. Like this feels like the third path that maybe he couldn't see because now Monica's involved. Like she's not choosing between, she's involved with the decision and she's okay with it.
Yeah. And she sees it as you said, maybe she sees it as the third option, that he isn't going to suggest a third option at this point,
Yeah, but he's just worried because literally this is the crossroads of his vision and he doesn't want to lose his family. But also the fact, I think the proximity of East Camp to the reservation is significant as well for Monica, that it's not the ranch proper. It's like a satellite office kind of thing.
Yeah.
You've said that before, like a satellite down there in Texas, right? So this feels like the happy compromises you can have in this kind of a situation. So it'll be interesting to see when this all comes back, how much of what we said is right or wrong.
It's got to be, like, we need some more explosions, right?
Yeah, something's got to blow up.
Like, we need some more, like, propane in the trailer. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that was like mile high, explosion.
So,
well, there's 6 episodes to go in this 14 episode season. So we will see you back whenever it comes back.
Yeah, we'll
hopefully
let you know.
June and not September.
When we know, you'll know.
Yes. So as long as you are subscribed, the next episode that comes out, you will definitely hear that. In the meantime, you can keep up with 1923. Caroline and Mike do that podcast every week as those episodes come out, and you can keep track of Yellowstone that way. And then also we have the Facebook group, the Yellowstone 666 1923 News and Discussion Group.
Yeah, so check us out. Send us your comments, your feedback. We do like to go down your theories and discuss them as well.
Yeah, we review them here on the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully it won't be too long before we're back. But thanks for listening. This is Steph.
This is Sheila. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.